Hello, everyone. All right, we are live and welcome to the first of the Redacted Hackathon AMA sessions. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some live streams over the next few months, showcasing different parts of the Redacted Hackathon. So I want to, say who's here today. So we've got Maria from Devhub. She's been a big, important part of the hackathon. We got Joe. Hey, how's it going, Maria? And then we got Joe from Devhub.
Just returned from the vacation, and you dragged me into this, so let's do it.
Totally. Well, we got Joe here from Devhub. He's all things tech. Owen, he's DevRail. And then we've got a special guest. We got AVB, someone who's hacked a lot of hackers. He's been in the NEAR ecosystem, and I think he's going to be able to ask some good questions. And we're going to kind of really iron out the details of this so people can come watch this and leave this video with like a pretty good idea of what this hackathon entails, key dates, judges, rules, regulations, all that. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start real fast with what is the Redacted Hackathon? All right. And so Redacted is an IRL movement that's going to be happening in Bangkok, November 9th through 11th, right? That's the IRL movement that's happening. Before that, we have an 8-week online hackathon, and that starts September 5th. And you can sign up at the dev post as well, right? So this is for the hackathon. It's 8 weeks, and we're going to get into the details of that here in a minute, starting September 5th. And then the judging and all of that stuff, we will have judging starts October 28th. So the judging for the online hackathon is October 28th through November 8th. And then winners announced at Redacted. Now, here's the important thing. There's something that's going to be also hacking at Redacted, but you do not have to do both. You can do just the online, you can do the IRL, or you can do both. I want to clarify that. And Maria, we can maybe talk about a little bit more about what's going to happen in IRL a little bit later. All right, so that's sort of some key dates and stuff like that. So let's just jump in. So who wants to start? A couple questions I have. Maria, maybe we can start with like the technical, little rules, little regs. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the legal team at NEAR Foundation and myself, we spent weeks working on the rules, and I really hope that there will be at least one person who reads them A to Z, because it's 26 pages, you guys. But bottom line, a short translation from legalese: you are eligible to participate in this hackathon unless you work at NEAR Foundation Pagoda. Everyone else is allowed. So AVB, we we would be over the moon to welcome you to our another hackathon. This is not the first lone online hackathon of NEAR. We had 3 meta build hackathons. Each of them was over 6 to 8 weeks with thousands of participants, with hundreds of submissions. So we have a little bit of experience doing that, but now we have new excited team members and new excited approaches. And most importantly, NEAR has new focus on AI and chain signatures, chain abstraction. So for us, it's probably the first hackathon that's properly focused on artificial intelligence, decentralized artificial intelligence. So I think it's going to be quite exciting. So if you want to join the hackathon, just check that you're eligible. It concerns your age, your legal residence, minor factors. I know that all of us are crypto people and we're all about anonymity and such, but if you ever work with NEAR, if you ever won the bounty, you know that we are quite diligent in our bounty payouts, so you will have to go through the KYC process. It's not painful, I promise. It's just it's just a procedure that we need to do. So yeah, as Jared mentioned, follow the link redacted.devpost.com, read the rules, read the challenges, and jump in and have fun. It's going to be an exciting hackathon.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's the important stuff. And keep in mind, this is important for us to like talk as well. So if you guys have any questions or you want to jump in, we can get to that. But let me discuss one thing now, which is sort of the 2 tracks. And there's going to be sort of some sub tracks in there, but the main 2 tracks are chain abstraction, which is a NEAR focus as well. And then there's also going to be AI and Web3. Right, so those are your 2 tracks. Now, we're doing over 500K in bounties, and that's sort of like, we can talk through that in a second, but the cool thing about that is you are able to combine bounties. And let me explain why I think this is so cool for this sort of like an online hackathon and hackathon in general. the way a lot of these AI projects work is you can use a part of them, a component of them. So you can create, and Joe and Owen and everyone, keep me on it. Like I'm not a dev. I'm here to help facilitate. I'm from the NEAR Foundation. But say you were going to build like some sort of like chain abstracted DEX. You could then pull data from some AI team as well. And then you can like kind of get for both of those bounties, right? You can sort of start stacking. You can start pulling pieces from different AIs and leveraging them with your project as well. That's sort of like, I think, going to be the really unique gamification way to play this. So maybe let's talk about that. Joe, from your point of view, you're a dev. Devhub, builder of Shard Dog, legend on NEAR. What do you think about that sort of approach with tracks and bounties and stacking and stuff?
I really liked this, and this was actually something I thought was really important to making this a unique and fun experience. One of the things that happens at a lot of hackathons is that like they're very particular tracks, and so you get stuck in building for that track to try to win that track, and so it's usually a little bit more narrow focused. The thing about NEAR, which makes it unique versus especially like other chains in Web3, is that there is this large infrastructure piece that is you go from all the way from like front ends to your backend integration to your full-on like full stack infrastructure, and now with AI and chain signatures, it's this whole suite of stuff. To be boxed into a particular category makes it really tough and limiting, I think, for a lot of developers. The other thing too here is the motivation to really explore the chain, because you have 8 weeks to build. And I can now stack my bounties so I can actually maybe win more money. That's a huge incentive for me to really dive deep. And that, I think, is just as important for us as a ecosystem to encourage people to really see what's available here on NEAR.
Cool.
Yeah, I really agree with Joe here, as in, like, I love how you can build so much, especially at this hackathon, because you don't want to necessarily be guided down one track where you're fixed to building this one thing. I think a lot of the time it's great to build what you want and then win some money whilst doing that. That's the great thing about hackathons, and especially this hackathon.
That's cool. AVB, I want to like kind of your special guest today, AVB. So you were actually at a hackathon recently at ECC that had some stuff with AI and stuff. So maybe we could get like your perspective. What do you think about this idea that you can build a chain, something with chain abstraction, with from proximity and chain signatures and all the other stuff coming out, but you can also leverage some AI components and also maybe build fully AI if that's how you want to go with like agents or stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been chasing Maria around the world for sure. I've been to too many hackathons and hacking on the NEAR stream. What I'm excited about for this hackathon is that it's finally NEAR centric. We've always been a bounty within larger EVM hackathons, which makes it a little bit harder to try to find what to build. And the main challenge is that the hackathons tend to be very short. So by the time that you're finally getting into the groove and understanding how to design something that makes sense and understanding how to implement it, it's time to make the submission, and everything moves very fast. So having 8 weeks to do it is very exciting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to during the 8 weeks having enough time to finding the right team, and then having enough time to brainstorm as many ideas as possible and reverse engineer them to what the technology can do. I think that in that space is when we're really going to understand what it means to do, chain abstraction and AI. I think that for most of this year, we've been really just trying to understand what it is, how it works. There's been a lot of players and protocol upgrades coming through. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what people build, and hopefully they'll all be terrible and we win. By we, I mean my team. No, we're not on the same team.
See, I hope they're all really good and yours is also really good and you win. You know what I mean? So, but also you said like NEAR specific. So this is actually like, the thing about chain abstracted is it's like multiple chains can build in the same. That's what like the hope is, right? Like that's like the goal is sort of the vision of chain abstracted, is that like you can build on multiple chains, or you can build on any chain leveraging NEAR and it won't matter, right? So that's kind of hopeful as well. And a lot of these AI projects really, I think that's like the big sort of allure of NEAR for them, is that like this chain abstraction, like the AI projects can build on NEAR, leverage NEAR's blockchain. And, it's L1, it's chain abstraction. And then it becomes this like awesome launch pad for AI and Web3 projects. Cool. So just a couple little, oh yeah, go on. No, jump in, please.
There's where the timing component comes in. So usually with a shorter time frame, people just try to stack as many bounties as possible, but then stick within familiar environments. So maybe, EVM was good enough to design something cool in 36 hours or so, but 8 weeks is it can truly allow you to explore, okay, if we want to go beyond the EVM component and really leverage what is best wherever it may live, now you have enough time to build it and make, I guess, really leverage those things that NEAR can offer.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
can probably add a couple of cents to what ABB said. Sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All right. So we all know that hackathon submissions are never the final version of the project, and they pivot 100 times before they actually find the big idea they're working with and their market niche and their go-to-market strategy. So for shorter hackathons that ABB mentioned here, it's 36 to 48 hours. We don't require this kind of in-depth thinking of the product itself and the go-to-market strategy. But you guys, you will have 8 weeks and you can start ideating now. So what we are looking for is well-rounded products, market ready, needed in the world, tackling forgive my words, real life problems, right? So I would love to see some of those. Joe, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I was gonna kind of tag a little bit on that of saying, you can actually start now. The beauty of this, you can start now and start really thinking through. If you're not accustomed to NEAR, you can start to actually accelerate your learning a little bit here and lead into, going forward for now. You have 8 weeks to build, so you have like a few weeks now to plan, then you can build. But the big piece here is that it's a great opportunity where if you are thinking about that project that you want to actually build, you're thinking about that business, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, this is an amazing opportunity to kickstart that idea, because you do have this large window. There's a lot of money at stake here, and it's an opportunity to really get something that is solid out the door that actually then kind of gets the ball rolling hopefully for you by winning some prizes. I would not take this lightly, because I think I've already seen some of the people who are entering and signing up, and there's some real serious builders joining. And I think it's a great opportunity to really show off what you're able to do as a developer, not just what NEAR is able to do.
But Joe, on that line, do you think that it could potentially deter people that maybe are used to like night and weekends kind of hack? Like what happens if you already have a job, or if you just want to dip your toes in the water? Like, how do we balance exploration and playfulness with we want something super solid by the end of it?
So I think it's important to understand what we mean by super solid. So I don't think anyone's looking for a business plan and a fully functional product that can ship to 10,000 people. What we mean is that there is a cohesive vision of what you're trying to do, that your product works, right? So you should be able to have an MVP that works, and this is something that you can hack night and weekends if you have a full-time job. Having the 8 weeks is something that gives you that window to really do that. So if you are a weekend hacker normally, I say this is a great opportunity for you to stretch yourself a little bit and see okay, I know what I can do in 48 hours. Now let me see if I have a little bit more time to stretch that out. Because I think that's a great point. When we say a solid thing, we do not mean we're ready for you to go get VC investments. We mean it's much clearer on, again, what you're trying to do, that you're not just putting a feature in somewhere. It actually feels more like a product idea versus just a cool, nice to have.
Jump on in, Maria. Were you raising your hand there?
Yeah, maybe a couple of cents from my end. So this time we actually allow participation for the existing projects. The only condition for them would be substantial modification. So implement a new feature and basically you will be eligible, but it needs to be comparable, on par with the existing project. So if you already have something that's on the market and has 100K users and you implement one green button, that wouldn't fly. But if you have something that works on Solana and you want to implement NEAR, this is the hackathon for you to participate. And adding something to what Joe said, the most fun that you can actually have throughout this 8 weeks of the hackathon is receiving a lot of feedback. And this time allows for a lot of user research, a lot of in-depth interviews, a lot of crash testing of the product, not just among your community, but the hackathon community itself. We have a pretty active chat for the Redacted hackathon already. So if you have any ideas, if you want to find team members, if you want to join the team, please give a shout out, introduce yourself, and let's keep the ball rolling.
I think, Maria, what you're saying about if you have like an existing project on say Solana already, and mixing them with the fact that well, we have chain signatures coming out, right, to mainnet soon. You can take sort of a fully fledged product if you're that far along and just say, hey, I'm going to use this from NEAR now. So I can use chain signatures and call that from NEAR, or you could have it deployed on multiple different chains and use multiple different functionalities across loads of chains and interact with that from NEAR. So I think, like, some people might be sitting there and thinking, oh, I already have this product on this one chain, but this hackathon sounds cool. Well, there's ample opportunity to hack with your existing project on NEAR during this hackathon. And I'm seeing some people in the chat saying, like, where can I find more resources and learn about NEAR? Because it might be your first time coming to NEAR. You've not hacked with us before. You've not explored around before. I think the great place to start is the docs. Just search up on Google or whatever NEAR docs. It'll be the first thing that comes up. And if you're unsure about anything, we've got Telegram chats, we've got Discord. I'm around. If you see an orange cat, that's me. Ask me any questions and I'll help you out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great clarification, Maria, because as I travel around participating in different hackathons, it always stood out to me that sometimes the criteria for the hackathon seems counterintuitive. People are like, oh, I already had a team. I've already been cooking this idea for a while, so I can't hack on it during the weekend. And I'm like, well, there's a bunch of sponsors, there's, you know, incentives to explore certain technologies. If you already have an idea that you're excited about, you should be able to explore it. And I think that this hackathon actually raises the bar for, yeah, whatever you had, just make it better and show the improvement during the 8 weeks. I also really like just thinking about how to take it to market. Normally, I'm the person in the team that no one understands the value at the beginning. And by the end, with the presentation, the marketing, you know, the business model, tokenomics, people start to realize that, you know, you need that. So yeah, I don't want to give too much away because we want to win and not give it to the others. But, you know, who would be your first 100 users? Try to get some traction, validate the ideas. I think that's going to be really exciting over the next 8 weeks.
ABB, I'm looking forward to your video giving a tutorial on how to crush hackathons, because I think that would be, I'd watch that. But cool. Sorry, Maria, jump on.
Yes, there is a literal book on how to participate in hackathons. The guy who wrote it actually won one of our previous hackathons, and one of the key principles of winning the hackathon is reading the criteria. So just when you think about the idea of the project, try to mix and match it with the criteria that's written on the hackathon page. In our case, one of the criteria is project sustainability. So if it's self-sustained, because we all know and love the bounty hunters. They bring bright ideas, they bring bright technical solutions, but then they receive the bounty and they're gone from the ecosystem. And for us, plain and simple, it's not a good return on the investment. So we would like to see the projects that will stick around. We would like to see founders, ambitious people who want to stay in NEAR ecosystem and build amazing stuff on NEAR. So we are looking for teams who have a track record of building stuff. And if you're building the same project for a year and you want to implement a new feature, if you want to experiment with the new technical solutions that NEAR provides. We're all for that. We would like to empower that.
I think that's something that I'm getting from this talk is like really important, is that if you're an existing builder, and especially with chain abstraction, right? So now you've been like building on Polygon, Solana, maybe even Bitcoin, different chains, and you're like, yeah, I want to try this out. This is a good 8-week time to hack and possibly get, win some bounties for it. And then also, if you're a project and you want to start to incorporate AI solutions that the NEAR block, this like the Horizon team, or like they're all doing, like they've got a cohort of 6 AI projects, plus there's like so many more in the pipeline. So, and something to just bring up now is that we will be releasing more of who the sponsor and who these AI teams are and who the mentors are. And that will be part of the 8 weeks of also live stream content starting September 5th. So I don't want to give too much away. Go for it, ABB.
Yeah, and something really interesting to note is that even though there may be bounty hunters, mercenary hackers, whatever you want to call them, abandoning the projects after submission, it doesn't mean that the submission was bad in the first place. So, I'm far away from being able to write a book on how to win hackathons. I don't want to talk too much about it and get Devhub commenting on the quality of my submissions. But I think that there is immense value in looking at all the things that have been submitted up until now and running through those lenses of, okay, well, this is already there. It's all open source. How can we keep adding to it? I mean, we had a live stream, I don't know if you remember, guys, back in the day, going through the MetaBeetle 3 submissions. And it was just some pretty cool stuff that I'm really curious to see, okay, with all the advances in the NEAR technology now, and now that we can do multi-chain, and now that we can do AI, how could some of these ideas be revisited? They've already covered some of the first steps. And yeah, you could potentially be that more, I guess, like long-term builder for an idea that somebody else started and then left along the way. Or maybe you can reach out to some of these people, see if they want to keep hacking on it with new superpowers, with the new tech stack. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Please, please.
Go for it, Owen. No, jump in.
I'll take it. I think that's a great thought, AVB. For example, like we were discussing this the other day about the old, I don't know if you know the Sputnik contracts, which are like DAO contracts. Well, we're now looking at DevRel, like how can we make these DAO contracts for multi-chain? Like how can we sort of use this DAO contract as a multi-sig to sign transactions on whatever chain you want? So I think, yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential in looking at old projects and enhancing them, like you said. Really cool thought.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up on that. Like, does Devhub have like these really awesome projects? Like, if people are going to build great projects and then say they leave and they get their bounties and they move on, like you've got this awesome project. Is there a way to sort of like have like a place where other devs and founders could go and just like take them over, kind of? Is that happen, or is that crazy talk? You know what I mean? Is that just one of those things where like a dev would be like, no?
Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have like a resource for that, but it's open source, right?
Yeah, it's not stealing. It's open.
Yeah.
As long as you look at the license, right? You can steal as much open source as you want. And a great way to get started is like building off something that exists already. Like if you're building a smart contract for the first time, you're probably going to copy an example, right? And improve or change the example from there. It's quite difficult to start things from scratch a lot of the time. So stealing other contracts and project is a great way to get started. But if you want to do something new and exciting that's going to impress the judges, you're probably going to have to think outside the box of what hasn't been attempted or even thought about before. That's what I'm excited for this hackathon.
Yeah, I guess to Jared's point, stealing is a very strong term. We're cooks, we fork. We're not stealing anything. We're not criminals. But perhaps the forking is easier to do when you know where to look. But one thing that I've noticed is it's been like 10 years. I can finally grow a beard, sort of. there's a lot of new people entering the ecosystem every day that they may not know some of these ideas from even 6 months ago, 18 months ago. And I was thinking like a cool learning tutorial, fork Berry Club and do something cool with it. Berry Club is for like grandmas these days. Like it's a very old project that maybe if we could be surfaced, given a couple of hints, like, hey, do Berry Club with like some sort of AI agent that paints, or maybe do Berry Club and it means something on a different chain, like small prompts, even just for learners to get them acquainted with the smart contracts and get their creativity going, I think could be interesting.
That's an awesome idea, AVB. Come on, let's do it. We've got until September 5th. You and I, let's. You know what I mean? I hope to see that video, like, because I think that's the thing. When it's decentralized and it's open source, it kind of grows, like, right? And stuff gets. It's hard to track stuff down over time. So kind of like the aggregation of that kind of stuff is super valuable.
Are you going to give out some of your own ideas then, AVB? Or do you not want people stealing your own ones? That's the balance.
See, I'm old enough to realize that the best thing that could happen to me right now would be a lot of people stealing my shit and actually building it. I've given up on me being able to execute on all of them, and yeah, now I've moved on to the Robin Hood phase. Speaking of which, Maria, you commented on some of the criteria and some of the tracks. I'd love to hear from you guys how you see some of these other categories or verticals that would be easier to recognize and how they may fit within the AI and chain abstraction context. Things like ZK, if people are interested in the encryption space, maybe fully homomorphic encryption, maybe people doing like real world assets, maybe social. How could we match those verticals in Web3 in general to some of the criteria as it is for this hackathon?
So I think I can zoom out to the actual tracks. For this hackathon, we decided not to limit the imagination because for the last few years, we've been doing these tracks like legal tech or creators, and we would receive maybe 6 decent submissions for legal and maybe just 1 for the creators, and it was disappointing and it was unfair for the participants. So we don't want to put them in certain pigeonholes, right? We want to judge everyone equally, and instead of tracks, we have nominations. So that would be the best startup, for example, judging from the business model. That would be the best AI solution, the best and most creative integration, and so on and stuff like that. So you can actually check the hackathon page. The nominations are already up. I just wanted to mention that sometimes at this kind of big hackathons, in the middle of all of the bounty hunting and hustling, we forget about the fun part of the hackathons and the wow factor that actually influences the judge's decision most. For example, 2 years ago at NearCon, we had 1 hardware submission. Last year, we had VR submission. And although the project idea itself wasn't super sustainable in terms of business model and such, the VR component or maybe the hardware component, or maybe, I don't know, the space tech, the whatever tech component makes it really exciting and makes it stand out instead of, oh, we programmed another NFT marketplace for degens. I mean, nothing against NFT marketplaces. It's just, it's been done through and through. I would say
we want some crazy ideas.
Yeah, we want to be wowed. We want to say, okay, so this is actually how people implement Web3 these days. So if we see something like that, by the way, regarding the hardware solution, it was POS terminal to accept crypto in supermarkets. So it was pretty cool, I think. So yeah, if we think about real life use cases inspired by real life people, we can actually receive some really great ideas.
That's really cool. And also I really like, I'm just still connected to like the projects that are currently building that want to now expand to, chain abstraction, I think is like really a good place, or like leveraging because Joe, you're building. And when you think of the AI aspect when you're building, how do you think about that when you're building on NEAR, and how you leverage or would think, and Owen, you as well, and ABB, everyone, how would you also think of leveraging AI components with that?
Yeah, so this is where I think the amount of time is like really great because, and I love the fact that you can bring existing projects in as well because it allows you to really like kind of like stretch your legs a little bit and see like what can I really start to achieve and how can I push the limits of my own project and take something that maybe was just an idea or something that seems cool and really push the limits of it for like what we're doing at Shard like sure, like we think a lot about, where does things like AI and, chain abstraction fit in. And so having an opportunity like this to push some of those limits and try and see where that fits in, I think is huge. I also feel like that it's a great opportunity to, like you said, like kind of push where like can I be creative enough and take a chance, and that's where actually I would say talking about like putting together a team, having someone like an AVB who is not going to be caught up in just the technical stuff. Yeah, because I think what happens a lot of times too is like when you're building, you're like so caught up in like I'm just trying to build, I'm trying to get to the next thing. You're very focused on like I'm gonna complete these different actions and and get to the next milestone. And so you sometimes don't always want to push yourself, or you're the other side of that like developer mindset of like I just want to build the coolest thing ever, and like you forget about the product piece. And so that's where having a team that can kind of rein some of that in, but also stretch you is super important. I highly encourage like this type of setup where it's 8 weeks plus like a pre-time to like get ready to have a team of more than one person. Don't do it solo because I think those are going to be the teams that are really successful, not just because you can get more work done with like multiple developers, because you can bring in people who are again more on like the middle line of technical, that understand the tech but don't necessarily maybe be able to implement it, but then can actually push the ideas and push you as a team. So and that's the stuff that like we look for, and that's that's our relationship, Jared, right? And Shard Dog is like you say something crazy and I try to pull it in, and we try to find that middle ground and we try to keep pushing forward. And so I think that stuff is super important for any team trying to build.
Man, I wish we could share our chats. Some of the things I ask you, Joe, you're like, that is not how things work. We just got to a point where I just say, just sprinkle some AI. Oh, no, sprinkle the API on it.
Sprinkle the API.
Can I
that all you do?
address the question in the chat? So Mankey's.
Oh, yeah. Is this this one?
Are the NEAR bootcamps or cohorts happening before the hackathon starts? So actually, right now, Devhub is collaborating with a really cool team with this initiative called Race of Slots. So you can keep an eye on that and maybe learn a thing or two. And also before the winning ceremony in Bangkok, we are sponsoring 2 East Global Hackathon Bounties. So you can come join us either in Singapore or in San Francisco. One of our DevRel engineers will be hosting a workshop. You can also take a look at the workshops that were uploaded on our YouTube channel, Devhub on YouTube. And probably start from there. But if you need any help or just, pick someone's brain on how to build a NEAR and where to start, join our Telegram chat NEAR Dev, and all of us are there, and we are answering the questions 24/7 because we're in different time zones. And welcome to the community. What else can I say?
And I think you don't have to have a specific boot camp before this starts, because if you go into our docs, like I said, docs, NEAR docs, and you click on tutorials, then there's basically boot camps for you right there. Like, how can you create an NFT from knowing nothing to a fully fledged NFT contract? So there's plenty of resources on there. And like I say, if it's not there, then ask us, right?
And here's something that I think is a good time to plug this. Joe, Devhub does live streams often, right? And anyone can join those, jump in, and you can like help guide people as well. And you and other, I watch them. They pop up on my TikTok too. Don't think I don't see them. There's a lot of there. I like the repurposing. But I think that's like an incredibly important thing because, and yeah, there's a lot of great docs and stuff like that. But from a dev, I think it'd be really cool to be able to jump in and be able to like be part of this community, right? And then Maria, to follow up with your thing, do you have the links and stuff like that to where people can connect with all of those sort of boot camps and stuff? If you just fire them off to me, I'll put them up in the
Yeah,
But yeah,
we
that'd be
have a
really
link
cool.
tree for Devhub, which we usually share at the hackathons. Let me just check if there's any outdated NFTs, and if we can
Totally,
remove
let's
it, and
do that.
we're ready to share.
Absolutely. But that's cool because yeah, I think that's really cool is making this like a community thing. And also to follow up, we're going to be doing a lot of these live streams. We're going to be doing one a week every Wednesday once the hackathon starts. And we're going to have different mentors. We're going to have different AI teams. We're going to have near AI people. We're going to have all sorts of like basically the experts in all these fields come on and really answer questions, talk about how to leverage their AI. What's an AI agent? We'll have a whole AMA on that, right? So we really want to make resources as available as possible for people who are hacking on this, because we do know that like chain abstraction, we know in 5 years from now, we'll look back and be like, yeah, of course. Like people used to have 50 different wallets constantly, that's going to be like, we're going to tell stories of lore. And then AI, I mean, that we all know that all the areas that's being used in. So I think those AMAs will be helpful as well. And I hope people jump on those, and we'll be reclipping stuff. And then you go into Devhub, which is every Thursday.
Yeah, so we do Devhub Live every Thursday. That's a little bit more focused on, we usually have different guests around the ecosystem. We do some different segments. We do have some different stuff planned for the hackathon coming up as well. We'll do some additional custom content for that. We also do a morning show a few days a week called Wake Up and Ship More. And that is highly focused on like actually building products and how do you actually ship things and get things out the door. And so that's something where anyone can actually come. It's always an open AMA. I have different topics each time. They're short. They're anywhere between 20 and 40 minutes, but willing to go longer if people have questions. And I'm going to do some very specific hackathon stuff too, leading up to the event as well. So follow the Near Devhub socials and you'll see all of that stuff going on.
So that is what wooasm means.
Yes, wake up and ship more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a great
my YouTube, and I'm like, are they misspelling it? Should I message them? What is like wooasm? That's good. Okay, now I know.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of my favorite shows, to be honest. Well, I'm always watching it at lunchtime because UK individual over here. But it's a great show for if you don't even care about Near, to be honest. Like it's near agnostic. If you want to learn how products are built from like nothing to something like Shardog, it's a great show to watch, honestly.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say with the previous question, Jared, about how to think about AI as an in-house hacker. What I've noticed this year is that everyone's got an idea in their head of what AI is, but no one really knows how it works or how to leverage it. So I think that you guys have been doing some great work at pushing out a lot of content, and 8 weeks really gives you enough time to actually consume the content. I've actually created just playlists, the near office hours AI. And as Owen says, it's not even near specific. You just learn from a lot of teams about how to think about the opportunities, the problems, and if anything, it may expand the way in which you think of the problem, and you probably become aware of tools and resources to use. The first experience that I had with that was when I showed up in Brussels to the decentralized AGI hackathon, and I was like, oh shit, there's all these teams with all these tools that are like plug and play, ready to go, so powerful. Once again, I didn't have enough time to think how to properly leverage it because other people have already done a lot of the heavy lifting, and then you have the tough job of building something that people will actually use, but the resources out there are huge. So yeah, as Joe was saying, try to find something slightly creative, slightly crazy. I'm still looking for my Joe, so yeah, reach out if you want. And yeah, take the time to balance those crazy ideas with actually understanding like all the tools that are out there and how they can be combined. Because I truly think it's the best time to build now.
Agree.
Yeah, I wanted to add the great words from the hackathon participant himself. I think it's a great insight on how to plan your workload during the hackathon. I would like to add also that a lot of us geeks, we tend to work with really complicated concepts and ideas. And I would encourage people, I always encourage at the hackathons to start working on your pitch from the. So the moment that come up with this idea and there's this aha moment, start thinking, how would you explain it to normies? How would you explain it to your grandma or random person on the street? Because pitch is one of the most important components at the hackathon. Everyone will look at your GitHub. That's a no-brainer. But if you cannot properly explain what the product does, how does it work, and what have you done throughout the hackathon, there is a good chance that the judges won't be able to properly appreciate your work.
I think it's
that
all
happens-
about. Go on.
I was going to say that happens even trying to find a team. I've traveled a lot. I mean, usually it's me pitching shit, but what I've seen, I sometimes stay silent and I see people pitch each other and present their ideas. Most people now have a negative bias, like everything is default shit, because you've just seen people try so many half-baked things. So you really have to go out there to explain to people, why you're building it, why you're excited about it, things that you still have to figure out, but hopefully with the right team, you can sort of do it. Because if you can't convince some people before the hackathon to join you, it's going to be very hard to convince the judges that have to sort out through all these piles of shit of people just trying to get their the money back. So
I think this boils down to trying to not just build a product, but before the hackathon starts, in the first few weeks of building a proper team, like you want to build a team of people who are great at what you're not so good at. So if you want to dive into AI, but you know nothing about AI, then try and pick up a developer who's great at AI. If you can't speak to an audience, pick up someone like AVB. If you're not a dev, then pick up a dev.
At
But you need to
all
build your
cases,
team.
pick someone like AVP. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, this stream is just to praise AVB.
And to follow up on that, we've got a comment. Why is AVB a mythical creature? So see, this is just, I like to bring up good questions from people listening. Ask your question. We'll we might bring it up.
I mean, I am too wondering what am I doing on this stream? And yeah, if you can't answer what your role is 4 years in, you're something of legends in a probably bad way, but
yeah, that's a legend right there. I can probably add my favorite use cases, not use cases, but cases, right, from the hackathon participants is when years after you can see someone found their own company and raise their own funds, and we have a couple of mythical creatures like that already. We have some people who joined the NEAR ecosystem at a hackathon, then maybe work somewhere in the ecosystem, then maybe they found the idea they want to build, and then they raise some money. So for me, a mythical creature, a baby unicorn, a little tiny baby unicorn, that's that. So probably AVB here is manifesting being a unicorn.
I think I look like Alton a little bit. So yeah, if we do pattern matching, I'm next.
Totally. And I have a question for people with like devs who are AI specific, right? Because with this one, we're going to be having NEAR has really connected with a lot of larger AI Web3 projects. And so as those AI focused devs who are like, we need AI, we understand that blockchain is essential to creating some sort of user owned AI. So we don't just wind up with a bunch of corporate owned AI using human data and people like batteries, but we can have a way where we can have user owned AI, user owned internet, things like that. Where do those devs, can those devs show up to the Joe, like, will some of the Devhub weeklies be focused maybe on AI developers, or maybe like we can send, if an AI developer is interested, where do we send them? And I know we've got the docs and stuff, but I mean kind of specifically, where can they get like a warm welcome? Your personal phone number? What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, hit me up. No, so right. So right now, Devhub is actually directly supporting the AI projects coming through Horizon, and so that is something where we're happy to make some of those connections, and we're going to be able to leverage some of that as a support system. So those projects have some really great developers on all of those teams that can certainly help and will be part of this. I would also just encourage that, as NEAR expands, so we shared earlier, I posted somewhere, the main Telegram for the developer chat. That's always, I think, the best place to start, because like everybody is in there to start with. We then have like other channels that branch out into particular topics, but by coming in there, starting in there, asking questions, it's one of those things where it's a comfortable place. There's, it's no real negativity in there, where it's just like, hey, I need help with whatever. And if someone doesn't know, there's always usually someone who can say, let me connect you with X, that kind of person. So definitely start there.
I think if you're an AI developer coming in, you're going to be highly valued. Like, just hop into one of the chats saying, hey, I'm an AI developer. And you'll probably have about 50 people messaging you, wanting to team up with you. So if you're AI and you want to build with Web3, you're on like that side of the coin, you're going to have it easy, I'm sure.
That's yeah. The developers are 100x valuable, and then an AI Web3 dev is even more.
Yeah.
What a
And just to, I guess, pontificate, what even is an AI developer these days? Because I'm doing my Python course to be able to play with AI agents and automate some stuff. So where would you say, like, do we need engineers that can write a base model, or can anyone that can speak with Claude or ChatGPT, could they do something in the AI space, somewhere in between? Where do you think the area of opportunity is now, with the current stage of development of the tech stack?
So it's a great question. Right now, especially I guess in regards to the hackathon, right? Someone who's going to come in and who can actually like develop a new model and train a model, like is an amazing ability, but it's really not going to work out well for a hackathon. That's just too resource intensive. That's too much time. You just aren't going to have that. The type of engineers that I think will really be successful related to AI are ones that can actually implement things like agents that understand how to take that model and manipulate that model to fit whatever needs that they have. So it's more of the integration type of engineer is going to be really successful. You make a great point there though too, of like the prompt engineer, which is not necessarily an AI engineer, but that prompt developer can really be super successful here, because it's one of those things where in a hackathon you can't do everything. And yes, 8 weeks is a lot of time, but we don't want you to reinvent the wheel on everything, and we want you to be able to accelerate your development. So being able to write really quality prompts, to get some help from these different resources, whether it's cloud or OpenAI, whatever it might be, that's an important role. And then lastly, like just understanding where AI, machine learning, where it actually fits into your product. And so someone who can actually talk through that and say, yes, this makes sense. So we're not just like, shoving AI somewhere just to do that. Like right now you see that a lot, where people are just like integrating OpenAI's like API into everything, and next thing you know, it's like, your car reservation is also tied to ChatGPT, and so it just doesn't really make sense, and like it's just there to be there. So think about that carefully as well.
I don't know, man. That application where the ChatGPT analyzes your dog's barks, that's got potential.
Hey, for sure,
dog shrink therapy or something. It's great.
That's our idea. That's what we're putting in show.
And let me jump in real quick to sort of like give a forward thought on like some of the AI themes that we're going to be doing in sessions, because that might help people kind of inspire people well. So first off, the AI and Web3 projects building on NEAR. If you go to the NEAR Horizon X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, they're constantly posting updates on that, right? And that's a good place to sort of like scroll through their feed, and you can kind of see past events. They're doing a lot of events at conferences. They did some stuff at ECC. They're doing stuff at Token 2049. Like they're really active, and they're really a great resource to start finding these AI projects that are building on NEAR, and crazy solid good team. And so with the content where we're kind of thinking right now, right, we've got a couple of these ideas. So what you'll see is sort of here's the schedule for content coming up. So on September 4th, 5th, we're going to be talking a lot more about the chain abstraction, right? Let's set the baseline for that. right? That's how it starts. That's a great place for a lot of projects on other ecosystems to jump in and be like, hey, how do we use this? We'll have some great people from proximity and other areas talking about, hopefully we'll have the main people of the chain abstraction there that can answer questions and kind of lay the framework. Then we're going to jump into NEAR AI, which is creating a whole lot on NEAR. It's sort of it's an R&D section of NEAR that does a lot with AI. That will open up, and if you're like ABB said earlier, the NEAR AI office hours every Tuesday are like wildly awesome to listen to. I get all my ass because it's NEAR based, but then it's also non-NEAR people. It's just AI people, Ilya and Alex talking to like the leaders of AI in the world, and it gets pretty heady and really cool, and it's fascinating with AI. And then we're going to jump into AI agents, and you're going to see there's some projects like in the near horizon people. You've got like Bita, you've got like Nevermind, you've got a bunch of other ones, and we'll be releasing more of these like projects the AI projects that people can reach out to, and we'll be doing some streams with them. And then we're going to jump into AI generative. You know what I mean? That's like we can do some like image generation with NFT, some IP stuff. That's where like Ring Fence might jump in. You know what I mean? Like we got teams in there, part of the Near Horizon. And then we're going to do AI infrastructure. And I think that might be a little bit later in it, because that's sort of like Joe, you said, like there's components and then there's building out the entire thing. And but it's good to have an idea of what's going on there. And maybe there will be a component of infrastructure you can leverage on your project. And that, hyperbolic, exhibits, things like that. That's compute side. And then data training and AI models. We love that kind of stuff. I really get around that kind of stuff. So that's like, Pond, and then even like AI teams like Masa and stuff like that. And then we're going to round it up with chain signatures, which over the next coming weeks, we're going to learn a lot about. And then that'll be kind of the button on it all. And one final sort of session for everyone to come ask a bunch of questions. Joe, Owen, get ready. We're going to have lots of people asking questions and getting those projects over the line before submissions. That was a mouthful, but I wanted to just give that out there just so people have like an idea of what's coming in. Things might change a little bit. We might move some stuff around. This is Web3. This is AI. Things are changing like week to week. So that's my final too much spiel. So let's wrap this up. Anybody last tips, tricks, or anything you want to share about this hackathon that will be good to end on?
I think there's no rule saying you can't start thinking and team forming now and learning. So you've got a month. Why not make the most of it already?
Yeah, I think that it's been a while since we had this longer hackathon. So people may be, I don't know, underestimating just how much could be built. Like NEAR could be a fundamentally different ecosystem before and after the hackathon. Don't think that just because it doesn't exist now, it can't be done, or just because you brainstorm something with someone, it seems so out of place that someone would have already done it by now. I think that it's just a perfect storm between all these protocol upgrades, integration with other ecosystem and AI, and just carving out the 8 weeks to actually sit down and do it. So yeah, I think really big. There may or may not be some underground clusters of developers just gathering already to think of things. And if you're interested, maybe reach out. Also, if you have the ability to, people are going to be gathering in person too. The earlier you can get to Thailand, somewhere between Singapore and Bangkok, there's going to be a lot of activity happening on the ground as well. So yeah, I'd say if you're fun employed like me, I'll see you soon in Chiang Mai, and let's do it.
Awesome. And ABB, just to follow up with that, there's going to be some really cool stuff. So really keep up with like the main NEAR X Twitter account, because we're going to be sharing a lot of these things. Like you said, there's going to be some really cool events and things like that. Real quick, there's a question asked, like the OLS AI agent project is something like that, Joe or Owen, if you guys are familiar with it, able to work? It doesn't have to be purely NEAR protocol based, right? Or does it for the AI level? Or is this where we'd want to get an AI agent and we can have them see, and maybe it's like taking that and using chain abstraction and building it?
I can probably take this question. So in order to qualify for the main track prices, there has to be NEAR somewhere through chain signatures or elsewhere. I don't see OLS among the sponsors of this hackathon's Bounties, but who knows what's going to happen in the next few weeks. So unless it's a sponsor, I would highly recommend to integrate NEAR in some shape or form to qualify for the main track awards.
Okay, that's
I was gonna
awesome.
say the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to end on one thing. And I think AVB will appreciate this with his legal background. Read the documents carefully. Read all the stuff because there is alpha in there. There is stuff, and I'll give one little piece here. If you look carefully for the in-person part of it, so that's in November. So after the big hackathon is an in-person actual conference. There is something that says there are travel scholarships available for qualifying hackathon participants. So if you want an opportunity to actually go and be there in person and you are building, this is a nice opportunity here to really expand that network and make the most of this. So I think it's super important that you really read through everything carefully. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And really please leverage all the resources here on NEAR. Devhub is here to help all developers. It's not just Owen and I, we have a whole team. So we can certainly help everyone out and make sure that you guys are on the right track.
Just a small addition. The official announcement for the travel stipends will happen early next week, so keep an eye out on Devhub socials. But if you already received a travel stipend from us, you already know the drill. So you will have to post a public proposal, tell us about your track record, tell us about your goals for this hackathon, and then most likely we will approve it. But then it's first come, first served basis, so keep an eye out.
All right. Well, oh yeah, go for it, ABB. What's the last thing?
Oh, last thing as an in-house hacker, don't underestimate the FOMO as well. We've strategically placed, or someone strategically placed, the conference right around a very heavy lineup of events in Bangkok. And for, I guess, a lot of people, Asia is quite far. So the sooner you start brainstorming and thinking about the hackathon, the better. But also, if you do want to make it to Bangkok, plan early, apply for the travel scholarships, and don't think that you'll sleep on it and 2 weeks before you realize everyone's going to be there. And definitely be there. That's what I'm saying.
What a great way to sort of wrap up our very first sort of AMA, get the details out of the hackathon. Just for everybody listening and now and in the future, we're going to be doing these weekly starting, I think, September, the Wednesday. The hackathon starts September 5th, and we'll be doing them every Wednesday from then on. And then on Thursday, you've got your Dev Hub, and that's a bit more dev focused. And you'll have Joe and Owen and people, and they'll ask your questions, get in there. Who knows, Joe? Those could turn into really cool like working sessions as well. Like that would be awesome. So Wednesday we talk hackathon. Thursday you jump into Dev Hub and talk super dev stuff. And then of course don't miss the NEAR AI office hours on Tuesday, which is just like wild, mind blowing stuff. So thank you all for jumping on here. And everyone, please, below is where you can sign up for the hackathon. And stoked, look forward to seeing all the stuff that gets built, and see you all there.